Good morning, guys. It's Tuesday, March 31st. This is our second day of virtual learning, and I wanted to talk a little bit about yesterday and make sure I went over the assignments again, and then give you the purpose of the Humans of New York assignment, as well as go through the example that I posted on Classroom, okay? So when I looked at your daily quick writes, which I need to remind y'all that they're due every day at 11:59 p.m. So you'll see when you get onto Classroom that question is due today. Most of you answered the daily question, which was just what are your questions about online learning so far? And so I'll be able to answer some of those questions that you posted. If you did not answer, okay, make sure that you're doing that because that's pretty much me taking attendance for y'all. So are you getting on? Are you checking with Classroom? Are you looking at the assignment? So I know I don't get to see you and actually mark down attendance, but this is just showing me that you're actually logging on and keeping track of the days, okay? So some of y'all's questions, what time do you need to wake up to be ready for the Google Meets on Wednesday? I have two different options, okay? So 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., so you could wake up at 9:59 and get on there, or 2 to 3, all right? When you do that, it'll be the link that's posted on your lesson plans. It'll be the link that's posted on your English expectations handout, and I'll make sure to post it tomorrow as well. If you're wanting to meet outside of those times, just message me on Remind or email me, and we'll get in on Google Meet on that same link. So every time you're talking to me and seeing me face-to-face on that platform, we'll use the same link, okay? Missing assignments, a lot of you are worried about that. I really do think the best strategy is just waking up, getting online, and seeing what's upcoming, okay? Most of your teachers should put a due date. Obviously, again, that daily question is due today. And then as we've talked about, you have the quick write. So every time you get on Classroom, you'll see the stream. And then for me specifically, you'll have what's coming up that day and when it's due. Another question, let me see what we have. The Google Meet code, we talked about it. It'll be the same every single time. I'll make sure to post that tomorrow before that 10 a.m. time, so that way you have it for either 10 or 2 o'clock. And then for getting work, I mean, that's really your guys' main concern. A lot of you are worried about staying motivated. I know it's hard. I definitely wish we were in class together, but this is what we have to do right now. Just in case you guys haven't heard, Randall High School is closed right now while we're in our shelter in place, okay? So nobody's up at campus. If you need something, I would call Mr. Singleton. I would call up to the DSC. I would call or even message me, and I can get a hold of somebody and let you know when opportunities will arise for you to go up there in the future, okay? So I wanted to show you real quick what I've done today is I've put this quick write example, okay? So this is the level of work that I'm kind of expecting. Mine looks long. Let me make this view a little bit smaller. Mine looks long, but it's also because I pasted the photo in there so y'all knew who I was talking about, okay? So I go through there. You're going to type directly into the question box posted on Google Classroom. That was a few of the questions I got yesterday. This is just an example. Remember, there's a rubric to look at to make sure that you hit all the requirements. I've also posted that link at the bottom of this so that you can pull it up and look at it while you're looking at the example, okay? I'll show you that in just a second. So we're going to talk about Humans of New York right after I show you this example. And the author is Brandon Stanton. Obviously, the title is Humans of New York, and it's travel literature. Okay, so all of your responses will have that in there because you'll see on the rubric when it pulls up that it asks you to begin with what we call a tag. So a title, an author, and the genre. Okay, and so all of you will have Humans of New York, Brandon Stanton, and travel literature in your response. Then as we go through, which again, mine's a little bit longer, you have different reasons as to why you relate to it. You're gonna need 3, okay? So for me, my first way that I related to it was talking about how I'm a teacher, and I talked about not necessarily wanting to kick your kid out, but for this student in particular, it worked for him, okay? And so for him, it was better for tough love and isolation. So I can relate to that just because of what I see in various home lives, okay? My second connection, it made me think of our main character in For One More Day that we read as a class right before our winter break, okay? And so I connected there and made the connection about him, craving the attention for his dad. Even though his mom was always there, he always wanted his dad. And he talks about in his picture or in his caption on Humans of New York that his parents really wanted him to be better, and he just struggled doing that. He yelled to his parents in court, "I never want to see or hear from you again." And I think that reminded me of Chick and the multiple times that he lied to his mom, or that he picked everyone pretty much over his mom, mainly his dad, okay? And then finally, I personally related to this because I try to end every day in a positive way, okay? And so even when I'm angry or upset, I try to end every day with telling the people that I care about that I love them, or ending it on a positive note, because I'm always worried that that might be my last conversation with them, okay? So once I post that, then I would respond to 2 other people in my class, okay? And you can respond with something that you liked, something that you might have a question about, or something that you want them to expand on, okay? And then when you look over on that rubric, you have 3 pieces of evidence, which are what I just showed you: connection to yourself, the world, or other pieces of literature or art. Then obviously the grammar, spelling, capitalization, things like that. And then you do a good job of answering the question. That would be an A response. You do not have to copy and paste the photo in there if you don't want to. I was just showing you guys the option on Instagram so that you could see who I was talking about. You can look at Instagram on your computer without an account. You can look on it on your own Instagram. You can follow it if you want. You don't have to, but you can. Or you can look at the Humans of New York webpage, which is also linked in your weekly outline, okay? And so I just wanted to talk real quick about why we chose Humans of New York. Obviously, as y'all know, it's by Brandon Stanton. And I want to remind y'all that we weren't doing a book like the other 2 English classes. So we were going to start this regardless because they are still finishing up books in their classroom, okay? So I wanted to give you a little bit of an intro of the book so that you had an idea of why this travel literature was important. And then I'm going to tell you what it's going to lead to next week, okay? So this is Brandon, and this is his introduction. And I'm just going to read the first page. He has a longer explanation, but I think the first page does a pretty good job explaining it, okay? So it says, I got my first camera in January of 2010. I was working as a bond trader, so I only had time to use it on weekends, but I fell in love with it. Every Saturday and Sunday, I'd take my camera into downtown Chicago and photograph everything. If I found something especially beautiful, I'd photograph it from 20 different angles, just to be sure that I'd end up with one good shot. I'd return home each night with over 1,000 new photos. Almost all of them were awful, but I didn't mind. I was hooked. Photography felt like a treasure hunt, and even though I sucked at it, I'd occasionally stumble upon a diamond, and that was enough to keep me wanting more. I lost my trading job that July and immediately decided I wanted to be a photographer. I had enjoyed my time as a trader. The job was challenging and stimulating, and I'd obsessed over markets in the same way that I'd later obsess over photography. But the end goal of trading was always money. 2 years of my life were spent obsessing over money, and in the end, I had nothing to show for it. I wanted to spend the next phase of my life doing work that I valued as much as the reward. Photography seemed like an obvious choice. Like I said, it felt like a treasure hunt, and that seemed like a pretty good way to spend my time. Okay, so that's how he introduces the book. And then the front cover has a short little blurb, and this is why they call it travel literature. It says, in the summer of 2010, photographer Brandon Stanton set out on an ambitious project to single-handedly create a photographic census of New York City. Armed with his camera, he began crisscrossing the city, covering thousands of miles on foot, all in an attempt to capture New Yorkers and their stories. The result of these efforts was a vibrant blog he called Humans of New York, in which his photos were featured alongside quotes and anecdotes. Humans of New York is the book inspired by the internet sensation. With 400 color photos, including exclusive portraits and all-new stories, Humans of New York is a stunning collection of images that showcases the outsized personalities of New York. Surprising and moving, Humans of New York is a celebration of individuality and a tribute to the spirit of the city, okay? And so we picked that just because next week you're going to look at people of Amarillo, or people that you're connected to, okay? So I want you to get an idea of people that stand out to you in your mind, maybe people who have made a difference in your life, maybe people that you wish you could have spent more time with, or maybe just strangers that you have questions about. How did they end up here? What was their life like? You know, he was into trading and now he's a photographer, so he has a story within all the stories he's sharing. So we're just trying to figure out people's stories. And so when you look at the Instagram and you see the captions, you know, the blurbs are this big. It shows just a spotlight into their entire life. And you're going to be doing that next week with somebody that either you want to know more about, or maybe it's a stranger and you completely guess what their story is. I don't know how y'all will approach that, but this is going to be the beginning of the unit, and we'll segue into that assignment, which will be your quick write for next week. Okay, so I wanted to give you some background of it. You'll be able to see my example on Google Classroom. It's already posted on there. If you have any questions, you can always message me through Remind, through email. We can meet through that Google Meet code, and I'll try to help y'all as best as I can. Okay, I hope this helps. I really do miss y'all, and I'll have an opportunity for Google Meets tomorrow at 10 a.m. and then again at 2 p.m. So let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, guys.